Meeting of the Rules Committee will come to order. It is about 1:14 p.m. Councilor Snell, would you do the blessing?
Sure. All rise, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this beautiful fall day. Lord, would you be with us as we go through this committee meeting? Help us to make good decisions, good choices, Lord, and just bless everyone here today, Lord. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Call the roll. Chief. Chief there. Yeah, he'll be on it when we first start running down. And he'll have one minute, so yeah.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
David Walkingstick.
Here.
Bill England. Jack Baker. Joe Bird. Julia Coates. Jody Fishinghawk. Meredith Fraley. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garbin. Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Tana Glory Jordan.
Present.
Lee Keener. Dick Lay.
Here.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
David Thornton. Kara Cowan Watson. We do have a quorum.
Now I entertain a motion for approval of the September 27th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Snell, second Councilor Hargis. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We'll now move to reports. First report is the Marshal.
Good afternoon. First, let me extend a welcome. It's in November. My staff is getting you the date for our annual awards banquet. That's where we award some medals and some citations to officers that have done beyond the call of duty in the past year. I want to extend an invitation right now to each and every one of you if you'd like to come. It's going to be at Job Corps. We usually have it at Job Corps every year, and we will get you those dates probably tomorrow or Monday as far as when and where that is. But please, if you can come and kind of show your support if you'd like. Also, I know I've not brought this out before, but please, if you're around the complex, you want to swing by our office, swing by our office. Come in and see kind of what we do on a day-to-day basis. I want to extend that to you as well. One of the things that we do that you might not get a lot of attention is the Violent Crimes Task Force out of the Northern Federal District. I can tell you that the Violent Crimes Task Force we are part of have been involved in apprehension of numerous homicide suspects, dangerous criminals, and I have lists on some of their accomplishments that I can give out anytime to my meeting. Other than that, are there any questions on the report for this month?
Councilor Keener.
Thank you, Chair. Seeing on the report, District 1 and District 2 have program highlights, but I assume there was other activity in the districts that just not in the same vein, or?
No, the District 1, that's not the council district. Okay. District 1 for us is anything below 412. Highway 412 is the dividing line. So if you read something that says District 1, that is Highway 412 and south. If it says District 2, that is Highway 412 and north. So that's how we split the districts up at the Marshal Service. Yeah, it's not just council District 1. For the entire district.
And I see you've been very busy. So it looks like that you had the most with, I guess, other assists. So would that be lesser crimes?
No, what an other assist would be is, let's say my officer's driving down the road and they hear that Cherokee County has a domestic in progress. They will go and assist Cherokee County, or it's Nowater County, or it's Bonita PD, or it's Tahlequah PD, or Salisal, or one of those agencies that we're cross-deputized in. It's us going and helping that agency. So that's what those assists are going out. Matter of fact, I was on a domestic day before yesterday. I was washing my car, my unit, and the call came out in Tahlequah, and I went over and assisted Tahlequah with domestic in progress. So that would be encoded in that other agency assist.
Well, that speaks volumes for me about the value of the Marshal Service. And I know the other counties appreciate that whoever you do it. So that's really good. It's really busy.
One of the things also on this report, we also added security. The security violations, what that would be is anything that's unsecured, like they come over and maybe your front door is unlocked. So they will log that down. Vehicle assist, that'd be if you go outside and your tire's flat and you ask security to come and air up a tire, or a battery's drained and they come and help you get your vehicle started. That is the vehicle assist. Incident reports, that's if they take anything that's over that. You know, it'd be maybe they get here before Marshall gets here because someone came in and somebody spray painted the front door. So they would have it write down an incident log, and then we would come and actually do the report. That's kind of how that's broken into. Accomplishments, we kind of put what marshals are doing of note during that month. Any special operations, we have 3 special operations branches. One is dive, one is swift water, and then one is a special operations team, or SWAT. We put that on what they've done. The 3 on SWAT for last month, that's 3 high-risk warrants that we served. One was from the U.S. Marshal Task Force up around Pryor. So every time we do one of those, we'll put that on there as well. And the HOSDA, that District 1, District 2, that's still that same district that we cover. District 1 being north of 412, District 2 being south. And those are actually the individual officer patrols. When they go through an Indian housing addition, they call that in on the radio, and we log that every month. So that's kind of where that comes.
Very impressive report. And one more question. You have ample funds to accomplish all these different academies and trainings that you need?
You know, I would love to answer that with an easy answer. I don't think anybody here has ample funds, including the tribe as a whole. You can always do more. I hope that we have over the past year, have hopefully demonstrated that we can do as much as we can do with what we have. And I think that we do that very, very well. So, you know, I could always use more funds, but anybody at this podium is going to say the same thing, I think. But what I try to do is streamline my organization as much as I can with the funds that I have. I would try not to come to this body time after time again and asking for more money. That I don't think is prudent on me as a manager, and it's definitely not prudent on the tribe and their services to their people. But definitely, you know, if I had more money, I could have more officers out there. So.
If we're already in this new fiscal year, just starting, but in the next fiscal year, if you could itemize that for us and make everyone aware of the need for the training during the course of the year,
I will do that. Well, I can tell you that the Marshal Service are under some several federal mandates, state mandates, and mandates by our own policy and procedure on different trainings that we have to go to. Some of the trainings are free. Some of the trainings that we offer. We also offer training in other agencies. Myself and 3 other marshals were in Miami, Oklahoma last week for 4 days. We taught the basic SWAT skills there for those agencies up there. So we go out in the public as well. But some of the trainings that we have to go to are quite extensive and detailed. So we do a planning schedule every year on what we need as far as training. We put that into our budget. But definitely I'll get you that. Here's kind of where we're at and here's where we're going for next fiscal.
My goal would be to provide them with the tools necessary to do the job and do it safely.
Well, I can tell you, I've been here 12 years, over 12 now, and I can tell you that we as an organization are very pleased with the way our council, you all have treated us over the past 12 years that I've been here. You've given us the tools that we need, and you continually give us those tools, and I personally appreciate it. So. And I don't mind speaking my mind whenever I come in and ask for something. If I need it, I will need it. I'm not just going to ask for it because it looks nice. How's that?
And we want to continue to do so.
We were awarded a grant. It's close to $1 million. It'll pay for 10 new vehicles this year, plus some radio system needs that we have for reaching out. There's places that we go that have no cell phone service, also have no radio service. So if an officer gets out of their car, they can't get help if they need it. So this grant is going to go a long way to help us with that.
Thank you, Marshal. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Garvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As most of you know, the open carry law is going to start in November, I believe, and I know probably a lot of you are already certified and licensed, but Marshal Gill wants to help us to go through this training, and I'd like for him to explain kind of what it'd be like and see if there's any interest with the others. I know I'm interested. So, Marshal Gill.
If any of the council have an interest in obtaining the carry permit for the state of Oklahoma, that does not affect Indian country, however, okay? It does not affect Indian country, but if you want it for your personal protection or personal safety, I can get with one of our cross-staff departments and offer that to the council. Usually you have to go somewhere, you have to pay some money. We can get the range set up probably at Cherokee County range. They're pretty amenable to that and get you that training portion of it. Now, if you want to go ahead and get the permit, then you'd have to do all the paperwork and all that yourself, but we can actually do the training. I offered it as maybe a group. You know, can we all get together and do it as a group one Saturday or one Sunday, whatever. And, you know, if you as a body decide that's something that you want to do, let us know. If it's not, but you want to go and actually learn how to shoot a firearm if you've never done it, call us, we'll come out. Or if you want to shoot one of our firearms, sometimes our firearms isn't usually how it is.
I wanted to do that, but my family forbade me to do it. They said I'll shoot myself or someone. I said, oh, I want to do that.
Mr. Chairman, can you take a vote and see how many are interested?
Certainly, Counselor. This would be to get the training.
Yes, this would just be to get the training.
Okay.
It'd be up to the individual council person to actually fill the paperwork out and all that.
Just to give you a sense, Counselors, show of hands who would like training in handling firearms. Pretty good numbers. Okay. One more time. I was not recording the numbers. Five looks like. At least five. Six.
Lord, at a distance with some of them, if I'm gonna.
Sure. At it.
Yeah.
Is there anyone in here that we don't want to carry firearms?
Yeah, that's what. I've already gone.
Too late.
So we can let our secretary set it up.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, Counselor.
You're welcome.
Very good. Counselor Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So since we do not allow either concealed carry or open carry either on tribal, whether it's governmental or business properties, considering November 1 is upon us, will there be signage soon to help clarify for folks?
We've actually talked about that. There's no state legislation requirement for signage in any building, whether you're on Indian country or not. However, still, since it's such a weird caveat being Indian country, I've already spoken to Connie at Hill about getting those signs put up, the casinos, the different buildings that we have out on Indian country. Let me first say, if we have good gun-carrying people out there that mistakenly go on to Indian country by mistake, it's not anything bad, our marshal's not going to run over there and tase them and put handcuffs on them. We will go and talk to them and explain to them why they can't do this. So that's one of the things that we're going to push forward. But the state's doing the same thing that we're going to be doing. It's not going to be, oh, I got you. It's going to be an education to, in this place you can't carry, and this is why. There's issues with banks. You know, banks are not considered a government building. So some people are going to be carrying a firearm in that building. So some banks post, some banks don't post. But just if and you all might be business owners yourselves, if you don't have to post the sign. The sign doesn't have to be 4 inches wide and 6 inches long and say whatever. You can actually just tell a person that comes in with a firearm into your establishment, I don't want you here with a firearm on, they have to leave. So that's kind of the way we're doing it, but most of the big places, we're going to try to get signage out there.
Just to clarify, what if the weapon is in your vehicle?
Same thing. Now, the weapon can be in your vehicle by tribal law, and even you can carry it if you're actively engaged in a hunting sport, i.e. you're going out to hunt over in Kenwood or down by Bell, and you're hunting on Indian land, you're able to do that, then you can carry that firearm. If you're driving through somewhere, let's say you're going from your house to Tulsa Firearms to shoot at the range, and you get stopped on Indian country, and we come and approach you. If you have it unloaded in a locked box, and do the right things you normally would, due diligence that we're going to do is do that. We're just not going to get you because you've driven through Indian country and you have a gun in your car. If you have a gun that's loaded in your car and you get stopped in Indian country, that's a little different, just like in the state of Oklahoma. We've had several issues with concealed carry in the past at our casinos, where you'll have a person come in, they'll be concealed, but they'll be playing a machine, and some person will see a gun sticking out of their jacket or something. So they will call us, we'll come in, and it's more of an education of them. Hey, this is Indian country, you can't have it here. And we've never had an incident where somebody has said, no, I'm carrying. So does that kind of answer? So we're going to give our due diligence. I cannot make any building at the tribe post. We've made that a recommendation across the board that they post those signs. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Madam Speaker.
I'm just wondering, since they can't bring them into this building, would you post this building first?
Yeah.
I would like to see a sign here because
Okay.
I just would like to see a sign here.
Well, I can tell you, we can put a sign, and we can get you one of those pretty quick. You don't need one because this is considered a government building.
Well, just as
But we can
nice
definitely get you,
reminder.
yeah, we can definitely work and get you that sign put in here.
Madam Speaker. Marshall, you mentioned the grant for the vehicles. Will this be a grant to replace vehicles or add to the fleet?
No, it'll be to replace.
Do you know how you will dispose of the vehicles that you will be replacing?
There are several ways that we've done it in the past. One is to turn it over to the warehouse and let them auction those vehicles off. The other is to, if there's agencies or counties or cities out there that need them, kind of a first come, first serve. We've always left that up to administration on how they want to proceed with that, because it has to come through administration on that expenditure being released, and it also I think comes through you all too. On if I want to get rid of this vehicle, there's processes to do it. I can tell you from my standpoint, it doesn't make a difference to me if we give it to local PDs or local agencies, or we go through the auctioneering process. If the council's body says, hey, we'd like to offer it to our agencies out there in the area, I don't have heartburn with that at all. We just have to go through the right steps. However, we only have so many vehicles. So our problem is maybe I have 3 vehicles that we're getting rid of. We have 9 agencies that want them. How do we decide what agencies get those vehicles? I wish I had just a B equals C answer to it. But I'm open for all suggestions on those vehicles. This will be the first time since I've taken over that we've had a lot of vehicles, maybe 5 or 6 vehicles that we might be looking at on getting rid of. So it's something please, if you all have comments or opinions, write me an email and say, hey, my people in my area would like to have it, and what do we do to do it? And I'll take that to administration.
Thank you, Marshall. Councilman Thornton.
Yes, a commissioned officer of the state of Oklahoma, does he have to leave his gun out on the road?
He does not. It's a law enforcement officer or a person actively involved in hunting. So any state officer, any city officer, any county officer, any federal officer can come on in Indian country with their firearm. Now what we request is an off-duty officer, okay, if they're not in uniform, have it concealed so it just doesn't alarm people. We had one walk in the tag office the other day, and he didn't have anything showing that he was a policeman. He just had a gun on him. So we get called, we go there, find out he's a deputy. That's good, but we request that they conceal it. That way we're not called over there. They're not embarrassed because now they've got 3 marshals show up to talk to them. So it kind of makes it kind of nice that way. But no, if they're a law enforcement officer in the state of Oklahoma or any other state, they can carry it.
You don't give a collect certification for open firearm carry?
No, we do not.
Anything further, Councilor? Councilman Lay?
Thank you. The vehicles you're talking about, how will you figure out who those are supposed to, and put names in the hat and draw them, or what?
I know in the past they've actually done that. They've had 4 or 5 agencies wanting one vehicle that we had, and we would just randomly choose that name. It's not going to, I will never do it. I like this agency, so they go first. I don't think that's appropriate, and it's not prudent. I think, it could be anything from first come, first serve to let's see how many agencies want this vehicle, because some of our vehicles are very high mileage, and some agencies just don't want them. And then put them, do a lottery. This one gets this or this one gets this, or have them come in. The bid process, I don't know how that works. I'm not in the warehouse, but either way is fine with me. How's that? but we'll have to have a process. I just don't want just to say, I like Claremore PD because they signed a cross with me last week, so I'm going to give them all the cars. I don't want to do that, so it should be fair and appropriate.
I think, seems like this came up once before when we were trying to figure out how to give these excess vehicles fairly around the horn. I don't think we ever got there, so just thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Councilman Countwatts?
Thank you. With regards to the vehicle, I understand we don't want to play favoritism, I totally agree. However, we don't have any monetary assistance that we're providing in terms of cross-deputization, especially where some cases we're really heavily reliant on them and we're adding to their workload. So to me, we have enough cross-deputization agreements and there's not an excessive amount of vehicles that really only those agencies that are in those kind of agreements providing services to us should even be allowed to use those vehicles. And that would be the added value for them on the cross-deputization agreement. And not some of these that aren't serving our areas of need.
This is Jack Baker.
Hey, Jack, how you doing?
We can hear you, Councilman. Hold on one moment. Councilman Countwatts,
Okay,
you still have
thank you.
So I think that those are some of the considerations that we should do for them to be in, and it should be a drawing or a rotation at the time and their next step, and they can either take it or not, and then it would go to the next one, so that over time we guarantee that all of them are getting access to that in a more fair fashion.
No, I absolutely agree, Councilman.
Because our agencies would tell you, and I think us as council people, when all this came up, we didn't know we needed to ask, should ask. So people in your backyard obviously know to ask. Well, our agencies provide a lot of services to the Cherokee Nation, our communities at this point, so they should definitely be considered whether they've asked or not. And the only way to do that would be to rotate it only amongst those that have made agreements with us. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We look to get our first vehicles on this grant. The grant's supposed to start being awarded in December, so we're probably looking at January, February, March timeframe. We'll get half the vehicles that year, and then we have to go 1 year and get the other half. So we'll be looking at this more probably about December timeframe, how we're going to do it. And we can even help you all out. Once we decide, are we going to give them to agencies or are we going to surplus them? If we decide that, yes, we're going to give them to agencies, at that point, my dispatch can send out a notice to all law enforcement in the area that are crossing it. So don't get that information to them. So that way it wouldn't be your all's responsibility to get the word to them. So we can do that.
Mr. Chairman. Councilman Burke.
Yes, Shannon, how can we determine on the need of these different communities as far as the ones that we have the agreements with?
That would be tough. Even the bigger cities that we're cross-deputized with are going through funding issues that are unprecedented in the state of Oklahoma. I don't know that it could sort of be new base, Councilman. I don't, let me take Tahlequah City, one of the larger cities that we're crossed with. Owasso, one of the larger cities. Claremore PD. They're seeing cutbacks at their agencies just like the smaller ones, the Watts, the Westville. So I don't know if it could be just a need base solely, or let's do the raffle with cross-deputized entities.
Okay.
I like that cross-dep. We cannot offer them anything for cross-dep. We cannot.
Yes.
But they are good partners with us. They've showed that in the past. We have some agencies out there that have been crossed since the inception of the Marshal Service. Halbert is one of those. They're one of the first ones to cross-deputize with us. And I can tell you, they're one of the more needy groups out there. But I just wouldn't do Halbert because they were the first and they're the neediest. I think it needs to be across the board.
How does our funding look for the next year?
This year, as the council well knows, we flatlined this year. We are where we need to be. We're getting ready. I have 3 officers in background right now. If they pass background, we'll be putting 3 officers on this year. That's pretty good. Some people say, put 10 or 15 on a year. Well, to be honest, I can't find 10 or 15 good candidates to put on every year. That's tough.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. We switched our regulation that there's so many steps now to become a marshal that you have to, one, really want it, and two, be good. The quality of people that we're getting now is, I said, far higher than the quality of people you got when you got me. You're getting some really good guys.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Marshal. Any further questions for the Marshal?
No, I haven't, just,
You have a comment? Okay.
Yeah.
Mashpee.
Jack's on the telephone, right?
That's correct.
Don't we need to get him on the video so that when we start taking a vote, he has to be on both things?
He doesn't log in, he has instructions.
He has instructions. Councilman Baker, are you able to participate by video?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I think once you do that, you'll be a full participant in terms of voting, is my understanding. But
I believe we have to take a vote.
I thought that was if he was not on business. It's even if he is on official business.
I was trying to remember the clarification and such.
I only say that because one time I participated when I was not on official business, and it did have to be voted on. But I thought traditionally, if we're on official business, which Councilman Baker is, he participates by right. But I don't think he'd have any problem getting the vote. But yeah, well, Councilman, we'll get you hooked, or you'll get hooked up with video, and we'll proceed from there. Thank you, Marshal.
Thank you.
We'll now move to the Office of Attorney General.
Good afternoon. In addition to the written report, I have a few updates on some of the pending litigation. The Friedman suit in the Northern District, we have a reply brief that's due today. And in the D.C. Circuit, oral arguments were last week, and we're just waiting on a decision from the panel. On the UKB land in the trust case, the 2 acres, the answer date for the U.S. to file is in November. And on all these cases, we're going to work with IT to implement a section online where you can place all these cases on the internet. So anytime you have a case that's filed and becomes public, you can place on the internet so you can look at it anytime you want to. At your convenience. That way, if you've previously been given a copy and you don't have access at that point, you can just go online and look, and so can the general public. On codification, there is a contract in place with Westlaw, so we have forward progress going on that. And on the South Carolina case, the any child welfare case, it's in the briefing process, and there's a brief due at the end of this month. And briefly on the Election Commission lawsuits, it looks like in CV 12-410, there is a motion to dismiss pending, and in CV 12-403, which would be the Council versus Election Commission, they're in the process of, there's been an extension on the answer date. Are there any other questions?
Councilman Count Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, really quick, because you kind of went through that very quickly.
I try.
Yeah. So on the Friedman issues, we were thankful to be there in the courtroom. So we're waiting on the U.S. Court of Appeals to respond, of course, and that was the hearing last week on Thursday.
Yes.
Concerning the Friedman issue for the D.C. District Court.
Yes.
Case. So where are we at with the Northern District Court case? I didn't hear that part. Maybe
I'm sorry.
You went through it, but I didn't catch it.
On the Northern District case, they're in the process of, there's a motion to dismiss pending some of the claims. The motion has been filed, there's been a response, and then we have a reply to the response, and we're going to file that today, and then that will be forwarded to this body.
And that's what you were talking about on the website?
On the website, we're going to put all the cases on the website. I don't know when that will be up and running, but that way the Freeman cases and the UKV cases, all the public documents, you could be able to pull them off and read them at your leisure.
Okay, and then since Westlaw has everything, like a date, when that's actually going to be complete, or they estimate to be complete?
Oh, for the publication? Yes, I can
I mean,
estimate.
I understand that I would hope them moving forward, since it's not on contract, but if we could get
Yes.
an actual date from them as deliverable, since they are contractors, focus on that. On, and I forget, on the South Carolina barometer case, on the digital welfare, that is not, it's not too Supreme Court level yet, or what did you say it was?
I can have Chrissy come to the next meeting and give you a more detailed list of how that case is going. And also understand she appeared on the Dr. Phil show. I missed that, didn't get to see it, but I'm trying to see if I can get a copy of that.
It's online at the Dr. Phil show.
Okay.
And then on UKB, where are we at with the appeal to the Interior Board of Indian Appeals? Because that's separate from even the case that's been filed, right? There's an appeals process.
Are you discussing the 76-acre tract? A different...
Yeah, I'm trying to keep all of those straight, so...
And I don't want to give you the wrong information, so I'm just making notes. I can give you
I would
the
hope we would
details.
appeals vote to the Interior Board of Indian Appeals. And I don't know how the new Obama appointee will impact that or not on any of this. And maybe that's a discussion that we need to have offline with smaller groups of people in the council.
It may be. And what I can do is I can get, see if we can schedule that, or see if I can answer that.
Has the tribes voided the state of Oklahoma on the agreement and payments and how that agreement was reached with the UKD?
I don't know.
Because I would think that that information would be very valuable after reading the last brief. And do we have an idea of how much dual citizenships, both in terms of individuals or households with dual citizens, create duplication of services and impact potential financial impact, the logistical impact to our delivery of services as well as UKB?
I think that's, I don't know that. I don't even know if that's within the department. I know it's not a legal issue specifically. I can try to find out, but...
The way I read the brief, it drew me out to look at the self-governance issues around how, and I thought this was part of the brief, that the money that's being impacted by both us and UKB, that obviously through self-government and the department's acknowledgement of them has impacted our delivery of services, being our service area, and whether or not they have the power to exercise self-governance and those programs is lending itself to the trust property. But it was kind of all intertwined is what I'm asking. I'm reading it in the brief, but I'm not seeing it come out of, are we getting that information and stuff?
It would be intertwined, but I'm not qualified to answer the question. So, as most lawyers do, we try to find out who can answer the question and find you that person.
And then,
yes.
How will the carcerary fix potentially impact this case if it's successful? Because when I was doing research on our new DC law firm, it appears that they have supported the carcerary fix, which would be in opposition to the tribes, us, the Cherokee Nation stand on that. I'm very concerned about.
I would think that discussion would be more along the lines of a setting other than this.
I think that discussion needs to be had, and I know I would like to have a meeting on it with the office, and I don't know if my colleagues would like to join or not. But I grabbed some very real issues. I think I had this list last time, and A.G. Hembry would have been here, but I finally found
I'm sorry,
my piece of paper.
I'm here at the last minute. I'm just filling in.
No,
so.
we appreciate it. Yeah, we appreciate it. But if you could take those back to him, I would greatly appreciate it, because I think those are concerns.
And if you have a list, can you forward it?
Yeah. I have a laptop now.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilman Byrd.
Yes. At NCAI, in the General Assembly, the first day, Secretary Salazar addressed some of the issues and the priorities that they addressed during this administration.
It was the Cabell, Keeps Eagle, and they said the car stereo fix is going to be the next thing they're going to address. And maybe when some of our other staff members get back, they'll have an update on that, because that was in really high discussion there at the NCAI this year.
Is that all, Councilman?
That's good.
Thank you. Councilman Cowell.
Thank you. Since Councilman Berta brought up NCAI, the AG's office is now responsible for the fake tribe issues.
That was discussed as well.
Please take back, because I got text from the Eastern Band this morning, the amendment to only allow federally recognized tribes to be members of NCAI failed this morning. And apparently, we were not there as a tribe to help lead the effort to make sure that that amendment passed. And I'm very frustrated. So we need to regroup. That needs to be another meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Burke.
That was being voted on, according to Jefferson Keel in our caucus the other morning. So it did not pass. They put that to the vote of NCAI members. There were over 1,300 members that were there, so they just put it to a vote of the people. Whether to allow state-recognized tribes to be part of NCAA or not, that was the issue.
It did not pass?
According to
the text I got from council members from Eastern Band.
Anything further, Councilman Burke?
I'll add one more thing. What the discussion was, there are some tribes that are state recognized. They are going through the process, and they didn't want to eliminate or exclude those very few tribes. And we're talking about less than 10% that are probably legit, and just put them in the whole bundle of excluding them for being members of NCAI. And that was the issue. That might have got miscommunicated to the General Assembly there. So you might check up on that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further questions for the Attorney General's office? Councilman Fishingham?
I've been getting a lot of calls the last couple of days on this complaint. And I know the AG's office is handling.
Jody, can I?
Yes.
I made a request for Todd to be here, and at the end of this meeting, I want him to give us an update on just that.
It's my understanding he is going to be here. He's just not here right now, and so I'm filling in for him for the report.
Can you tell me just real quick then, and maybe we need to wait on time, who is responsible for checking the eligibility? Because all my schools in Adair County managed to do it just fine.
Let's hope Mr. Hembry can be back here by the end of the meeting.
Can you tell me who's responsible for checking it?
Councilman?
Yes, I can, if you want me to. The AD, administration, athletic director, council. You have counselors there that check the type of building. We used to do it at Stillwell when I was counselor there. Then athletic director, administration, everybody.
From superintendent on down, somebody should have been checking. There were other
Absolutely.
people that should have been responsible.
Absolutely.
There's also the
Councilman, yield to Councilman Walkingston for response.
Also, the other allegation was kids were going to camp on the school's dime, and it's illegal for OSSAA, and there are school officials and the former administration that was signing off on the kids to go to attend these camps. But it said it falls on the administration and athletic director to fail to comply and know the rules of the athletic association. And we're also facing the residential ineligibility issues as well with kids on the football team. And the coach was responsible as well for that. And there may be other coaches that's going to be held liable that were in part of working the camps and so forth. So there may be more coaches to be suspended than just our head coach. Right now our head coach is suspended in the whole state of Oklahoma until November 7th, until they have a hearing, not unless they have a special emergency hearing prior to that. So, but it's affecting 8 students and a head coach.
Well, this is college, I think. He's saying they have lack of institutional controls and everything else. And that's what I was wanting to find out, because I've got some mad parents calling me because.
Well, Todd is defending, I guess, the students, and he's gonna go out the angle. Why are we punishing the kids because the adults dropped the ball? I think that's his case there. Well, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Yields back to Councilor Fishinghawk. Anything further, Councilor Fishinghawk?
Thank you all for playing.
Madam Speaker.
I was just going to ask Councilor Byrd, when you say admin, we're talking the principal, or I guess they call them dean of students or something over there?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're talking principals?
Principals, athletic director, and at that time, the last few years, I think this goes back to '06. I won't say too much here without the Attorney General being here. I'll just let him explain, then we can ask questions accordingly.
Mr. Morton, Mr. Hembry is preparing an appeal, is my understanding. Well, I only know what I read the papers, so we certainly want to speak with a unified voice on the law and the facts on this case, so we may not want to cloud the record too much in committee.
My recommendation, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Certainly,
from the council, is if we would support, and if the Attorney General agrees, is they've been suspended. There's an appeal, November the 7th, I think is when it's scheduled.
I believe it's November 7th.
That's after the fact. The playoffs, everything will already be over. And this is just a recommendation to the Attorney General. Communicate with Oklahoma Secondary Athletic Association and let those students play under protest. What do they have to lose? And if they ruled ineligible November 7th, what have we lost? At least they get to participate. And that's just going to be a recommendation I'm going to have to him when he shows.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilman Walking State.
As a lot of our players have a lot of colleges looking at them, and Friday night's game against Hilldale and some of their games are really crucial. And you got to kind of weigh the lesser of two evils. I mean, if the kids have been playing ineligible for the whole season, we're going to forfeit the other games prior to, and we won't have a chance at a district championship. Because a lot of the parents are really saying, well, we need these next two games to win, and there's college coaches coming to these games. So, I mean, kind of with Councilman Byrd, playing them under protest, and then let the chips fall where they may November 7th. That's all.
Thank you, Councilor. Ms. Morton, anything else for the Office of Attorney General? Because you also are up for codification if you have any comments
I
on that.
kind of combined them.
Very good.
Yeah, we have the contract pending, and I'm going to find out when we will when they'll start printing.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Election Commission, Mr. Horton. It's my understanding that there's not a representative of the Election Commission here today. Councilors, you had passed out in front of you a document, which is actually, I'll just briefly address this, is actually the existing election code. This is, I do have on the agenda, item number 1, a new business discussion and possible action. I don't intend any action. I simply wanted to pass on some changes that will be considered to be proposed, for lack of a better phrase, by the Election Commission. Commissioner Lindsay Earls worked with the commission's attorney, Mr. Chafin, to make this draft. This is simply for information purposes. If there's any questions when we get to the item, we can certainly discuss it. But mainly, I wanted councilors to have this now because next month we may make some amendments or propose some amendments rather to the code. So just by clarification, that's what this document is that's in front of you. And then move on to Tax Commission. Anyone from the Tax Commission? Right. Oh, Lisa, okay, gotcha. That's all right. Ms. Webster did tell me that. Ms. Hanby, you also.
He's there also.
We have a representative for self-governance.
I'm Tanny Johnson, and I'm here for Vicki. She wanted to send her apologies. She's at home with her daughter. I apologize for the lateness of your report. It was handed out right previous to the meeting. So The only thing that I have to really update about is the Contract Disputes Act claims that were filed for IHS. The settlement negotiations commenced on September 12th, and they're expected to wrap up within a year. That's just the negotiations. Due to the complexity of the issues to be resolved, they will not give a more definite time frame. Both of the parties last week agreed to stay litigation in order to work toward an agreement, and they were ordered to give an update in approximately 90 days regarding those negotiations. After that 12-month time frame is up, they will follow with procedural implementation to pay out those settlements. And that's the only very specific thing that I have to address. I spent the last couple of days with the Maori tribe from New Zealand. They were here to see how our self-governance works. We were one of 2 self-governance tribes in America that they visited with. They were very impressed with our language initiatives and making our imprint on the technology world. So if there are no questions?
Any questions on self-governance, Madam Speaker?
Not a question, but we do just convey to Vicki our concerns, and if we could do anything, or she's off with your children, just let us know.
Absolutely. I get emails daily and I pass them on. So they are home now. The baby's home, so we're a better place than we were a couple of weeks ago. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Gaming Commission, Mr. Hummingbird.
Jo, weet je, idag har den. Don't lie now. I have the report in your packet. Take any questions you might have on that, but just one quick update on some of the more pressing activities facing the Commission. We've got the Fort Gibson facility opening projected to happen around the first part of December, looking at December 4th, which means all of our activity really starts next week, and we're supposed to start receiving machines and start getting the facility populated starting next Thursday. So we will be having quite a bit of activity during the month of November and working through different issues, whether it be construction, safety, food health, as well as all the gaming issues. So we've got an action-packed November ahead of us. But we're working hard to meet that deadline, and hopefully we will not face any unforeseen challenges, but if they are, we will adjust. And we work closely with CNE to make sure that we have the right people in the right places at the right time. So we're hoping, knock on wood, that the project goes off pretty smoothly. Other than that, I think things have been fairly quiet on the gaming front for the last few weeks, so I'll take any questions you might have on the report.
Any questions for Mr. Hummingbird? Okay, no question. Councilor Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know that during the budget process, and I apologize if I didn't give you a heads up, but on the budget process, we've grown. I think that from what I could determine from the detailed parts of the document, there was additional money, maybe your staff that you were requesting. We've brought these facilities online, and new facilities will be shortly, even more. How are you doing budgetary-wise and staff-wise with the workload that's on your plate for your team?
It's tough, but we're trying to do the most that we can with the staff that we have. I do plan on discussing the issue with administration and hopefully maybe get some of those additional positions back in. I think at the time that the budgets were being produced, that there was some additional need or request for justification for those positions. I've collected what I think is the justification for it, and just looking at some of the additional sites and the increase in the facility size and the workload, I think will hopefully shed some light on those particular issues, but we're going to work through with administration to address those.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further questions for Mr. Hummingbird? Okay. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Mr. Justice, Registrar, Citizenship Data Update.
Just a few numbers to update you on for this month. For the registration updates, 538 address changes and 44 deceased notices. Are there any questions regarding?
Questions, Councilor Kunwatz?
And this is likely something that you may not be able to answer, but since we don't get to see the registrar at these meetings, could you have them or provide them what the policy and procedure is, the written policy and procedure for what we allow to accept for documentation for change of address, death notifications, as well as what triggers a bad address?
Will.
Okay.
I'll pass that on.
Thank you. And if we could, we need it by the end of next week, because we've had a number of questions about it, and we get inconsistent feedback from not just registration, but various departments on what that is acceptable documentation.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll get it to him this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Any questions, further questions, Mr. Justice?
Be sure to send all that information to all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Justice. Councilors, in front of you are several pieces of legislation that I believe may be the subject of a motion to amend. Let me just identify those and see if we have a motion. What's that? Well, we have two resolutions. A resolution allowing Cherokee Nation to work with the U.S. Department of Agriculture Statistical Service. A resolution ratifying litigation in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Oklahoma. What about the contract support litigation? Is that already on our agenda? This is just the backup item. Councilman Lay, this, it's already on the agenda. Okay, very good. Very good. All right, so I guess these are the only two items that we would need to amend the agenda for. They are in front of you, so I'd entertain a motion to amend the agenda. Yes, Councilman.
Point of information, could you repeat that? Because I've got too much stuff in front of me.
Certainly. The two resolutions, one is a resolution allowing the Cherokee Nation to work with the USDA National Agricultural Statistical Service. And the other is a resolution ratifying litigation in the United States District Court for the Northern District of Oklahoma.
Motion so moved.
Motion made by Councilor Dorsey, second by Councilor Hardis. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. These will be new business items. I guess they'd be new business items 6 and 7, although we have an executive session. Yes, Councilwoman.
You're saying that this, okay, so this one sponsored by Councilman Lay about management direction, that's on the agenda?
I think that's on the agenda, so this is just the backup for the discussion. The other items before us, I believe, are also, in the nature of substitutes for what's in our book.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
for
Councilman.
information, is that item 4, and it's supposed to be waiver of sovereign immunity issues, or is that supposed to be the UKD?
That is
Because I'm not matching an agenda item with the...
contract services.
Yes.
You are correct, Councilor. So I stand corrected. So, Councilman Lay, looks like we don't have a contract support services resolution on the agenda, so would you like to make a motion to amend so we make sure to discuss that and possibly take action?
Yes, I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Made second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, so that'll be new business item 8. Yeah, and Shelley does not have a copy of that. I think I have an extra copy, Shelley.
Mr. Chairman, point of information or point of order?
Yes, Council.
When we get these by email as well? It's problematic, so when I try to keep them sorted and they're not in the book and they get lost and we never seem to, I mean, I know they're going on Legistar, Shelley does a good job of that, but we're not always up online to pull those.
I think that's always the best practice, and
Thank
certainly
you.
there's times when time won't allow it. Most of the time will allow it. That under advisement. All right, we now move to old business. Item number 1 on our old business is an act amending Legislative Act 0309 relating to the sales tax. Madam Speaker, are you prepared to speak to that?
Yes, I think we've got everything ready on this act. There's one other little bobble, and I'll make a motion that we consider this act for approval, along with just a minor revision that on about the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Madam Speaker, I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you talking about the loose copy that's
Yes,
been
the
distributed?
loose copy. On about the 5th line of the part that styles section 32, we would like to, I would like to remove where it starts with the word which down to 3, which is exempt from taxation pursuant to the provisions of the Internal Revenue Code 26 USC section 501c3. I would like to remove that.
So, Madam Speaker, you're making a motion to approve this document in front of us with that change.
Point of information.
I hear a motion. The second,
Please
Councilman Cowan.
repeat where, because I found the document.
Certainly. You
That's not
recap that.
It's section 32 on the front page.
Section, I'm sorry, everybody's talking, so I'm on the first page.
Okay, first page, section 32, line 5. Right after the word in red of profits, strike from which is exempt from taxation pursuant to the provisions of the Internal Revenue Code 26 USC section 501c3. Strike that.
Strike the 501c3.
That whole line from the words, that word profit in red to the end of that sentence.
Madam Speaker, keeping certain nonprofits, but striking beginning with the word which.
Yes.
And striking
Yes.
through the end of that sentence.
Yes, and that's consistent with section 4, definition of a nonprofit.
All right, we have a motion and a second, so we'll move into discussion. Madam Speaker, do you care to outline what this latest version attempts to accomplish?
Well, this would give a sales tax exemption to all nonprofits meeting our definition that they employ less than 10 employees, and to all veterans and all disabled veterans. They would be excluded from sales tax at our entities.
Madam Speaker, if you'd yield to me for a second.
Yes.
The existing statute exempted nonprofits. That was in the existing statute. The revision, as it's been in our books for a number of months, was designed to exempt veterans from the taxes and the fees that are imposed. And in fact, I don't see fees in this draft, Madam Speaker, and I believe the intent was to put fees. And Ms. Barker Harold has risen. I thought that.
On page 2, part C.
I see. Okay, very good.
And Mr. Chair, just so there was a couple of questions from Councilor Fraley before, and I think Councilor Powell wants about National Guard, Military Reserve. The definition of veteran that was given to me by Sharon Swepston was only for the disabled veteran. So I did research. She said they used the state definition, but there were several state definitions depending on under what statute it was, if it was employing veterans or disabled veterans or whatever. So I looked at the federal veterans definition. So in section 4 definition, I used that definition as a simple definition for veteran, just so that you'll know. Remove the Oklahoma part of the National Guard, as Councilor Friday asked to do, and then just say National Guard, because they may have been in another state serving that National Guard but are still in this state.
Thank you, Ms. Barker Harold. Now, the issue with exempting nonprofits from both taxes and fees is that you could have a nonprofit that is a huge organization, a national multi-million-dollar budget organization. Suppose they come to the Hard Rock, rent a block of rooms, a conference room. We would be exempting them from the fees that would that would be associated with that. And the feedback we got was that would be a pretty big fiscal hit I think this legislation was always designed, even before it was amended, to help those small nonprofits in our communities that want to use our facilities, but we want to ease the tax burden on them. And then we wanted to additionally ease the tax burden on veterans, but we also wanted to ease the burden of fees, which so often we see on the hotel bills, et cetera. So that's the reason that there's been some adjustment to nonprofit, so that these mega nonprofits are not getting shielded from taxes, but that local nonprofit groups get the benefit. That's the purpose of that. And I see the Attorney General's office rep is rising.
I was just wanted to give you guys some information. I was curious about the fee situation because I work with the tax commission a lot, and I didn't know what other kinds of taxes they would be charging besides sales tax. And I emailed Dina, and I said a lot of people have said, I see on my receipt that says tribal transaction fee, and I don't know what that is. And I clarified with Dina that is the 6% sales tax. For some reason, they list it as a tribal transaction fee. So I just wanted to let the council know that, because I know it's been confusing to other people who have asked that question to me, and I don't believe there are any fees that I would label taxes that are charged by CNE that would not be the 6% sales tax.
Certainly, we would eliminate any confusion on anyone's part that the fee should not be applied to our veterans if we make sure and cover fees. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, I think it's maybe it's hard because the word fee is so non-specific. Do you mean it could apply to a lot of different things? Is it a fee that might be a gratuity for a party more than 8? Is it a fee? I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not saying it should go or that it should stay. Whatever you want to do is fine. I just wanted to.
But is it your view that if we were to strike fee, we would still get that thing that's called a transaction fee from the Hard Rock?
That's
And maybe
exactly
we
what
should do
I'm
that.
saying.
Maybe we should do that. And Councilor Connell, she's up. Thank you. And Madam Speaker, in view of that, would you, if someone made a friendly amendment to strike fees, would you accept that? And, is Councilor making that friendly amendment? I think Councilor Hargis is making that friendly amendment. It's been accepted. Okay, it's been accepted. So we're going to strike fees from section, from section C. Very good. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Councilor Conlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, first of all, I thought I'd asked to be added as a sponsor, and I would be honored if I could be added as a sponsor. But so we are including all veterans, and we've still said disabled veterans, but they have to be 100%. Will the term active somehow put us into a different mode, and did we ever determine what kind of documentation we're going to require so that when it implements with our staff that we're not putting the employees that are going to be on the front line of implementing this into a problem area logistically? So do we have that worked out, and could that be explained so that folks know what the expectations are?
If the council would yield on the issue of what we would require, I actually don't know, but I do think that the tax commission, pursuant to Section 8, can formulate that. I mean, they can regulate that. I'd rather leave that to them. I mean, we could spell it out here, but I think the tax commission could issue a rule and then CNB follows it.
And they're under the Administrative Procedures Act, so I would hope that they would go through that process and it would be public and well documented.
Yes.
But I wanted to make sure that we were not legislating something that would be problematic, and that those expectations were there. That tomorrow, if today was a council meeting and it was signed into the chief tomorrow, that suddenly we wouldn't be putting expectations on the hotel staff or the gift shop staff and have upset folks.
And if the council would yield again, Section 8 gives them 6 months to work that out. So I feel confident that they can, and Diane Barker-Harold's risen, if you yield to her.
We brought that up at earlier meetings, and it was a question, and I'm not hearing anything about it. So
I think it's a fair question, Ms. Barker-Harold. Can you?
The tax commission asked for 6 months before this was actually implemented.
And that was the response.
Yeah, that was their response. So they can do the policies, procedures, probably bring them to the council, let them know what you were going to do. So Sharon specifically asked them for that.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Lay, then Councilor Keener. Councilor Lay.
Thank you. I had an individual who's a disabled veteran come to me a couple of weeks ago and say to me, do no harm in this act. And he has a card that he presents when he goes and makes purchases that already enables him to get the taxes knocked off of certain various things. So are we going to issue cards, and is it going to, all of a sudden, he has a concern that we're going to cause harm? And I'll throw that out.
Yeah, and Councilman, if you yield to me, I mean, if I were the election commission, what I would do is I would grant, for lack of a better phrase, full faith and credit to the issuing authority of the state of Oklahoma. If you bring in a card, that's what I would do. But I think they can work through that, and that to me, that's a common sense way to do it. But others might have a different idea. So I yield back to you, Councilor, if you have anything else. Okay. Councilor Keener.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to take another friendly, section 2, you strike the word and, period, and just a period.
Madam Speaker, there's a stray and with a period. Would you, or a stray and?
Yes. Section 2 under purpose.
It's been accepted by the mover and the seconder. Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the legislation as it's been amended? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to, and we're adding Councilor Con Watts as a sponsor. Let's make note of that.
Mr. Chairman.
Certainly. Now move to a vote. Madam Speaker, by acclamation? Yes. All right. We will proceed to a voice vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. It passes. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Old business item number 2. Councilor Thornton.
This act's relating to drug testing for elected officials. I'm going to make a motion that we pass it.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? We have a second by Councilor Walkie Stick. Any discussion? Councilor Thornton, do you have any remarks to make?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to be added as a sponsor.
Councilor Hargis wants to be added as a sponsor, and Councilor Walking Stick. Councilor Conwas, did you have a comment?
Could somebody walk me through, I mean, I understand random drug testing, that's something as a corporate engineer that I've always, been part of, but how, if your least favorite, somebody that just doesn't care for you decides to come up and say whatever, whether it's another council member or a constituent, am I, is somebody going to have to drive from Claremore to Tahlequah on a daily basis? I mean, what triggers this? And or if we're an hour or more from the tribe, or we're on travel, how does this actually get implemented? I guess for us, help me understand that.
Would you direct that to one of the sponsors? And
I assume they know, so yes, that'd be great.
Councilman Byrd or Thornton, could you address the council's question?
Well, from what I understand, it'd be administered like the employee drug testing. Wherever you're at, if you're asked to take a drug test, there'll be some place there local where you can go and they'll appoint you, or whatever we end up with here will appoint you to go there to drug testing. As far as anyone challenging it, that drug test is, I imagine it's confidential until you come up positive. If you come up positive, I imagine that I would just think that they would alert the council. I don't think this is going through the administration's office or be controlled by the administration's office. It's going to be controlled by the council. And we'll be the appointing authority of whoever administers this, of what I understand. That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay. Councilwoman, you still have the floor.
Thank you. So it looked like there was an exception. So if somebody's abusing, for example, prescription pain pills, and they're excessively using them, it looks like they're going to get off if they just have a doctor's note. Is that the way I read that, or how does that work?
That's directed to the sponsors. Councilman Thornton Byrd, do you want to address that question?
We had our legal here address that, because there's a couple of people here may be on medication. I don't think the word abuse is what I would call it, being on medication, and so we inserted that language in there.
But there is, prescription pain pill abuse is a real drug problem, and if we're going to seriously
You mean on the
address-
council? Is that you on the council?
No,
or
I'm
the-
saying that as if we're looking at drug abuse as an issue potentially for any elected official, whether they're councilor or whoever, prescription pain pills are, for example, a very real problem. That shouldn't excuse them just because it's not an illegal drug. So how are we going to deal with that? Then are we going to start delving into people's personnel?
How are we doing with the
records?
employees?
Councilman Fishing, I think can speak to this. Councilman Fishing.
Okay. I know when I was an employee, if they test it, comes back and got something the same morphine or something, should be in there, oxys. It should be in there because it's legal, but then you have to produce your script for it.
Yeah. And Councilman Camelot, you still have the floor.
That's very helpful. Thank you very much for taking time to answer the question for me.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Fraley.
Mr. Barnett, I understand you correctly, if this would be under the control of the council,
Yes.
then who will be responsible
We'll
for
have to-
developing the policies and procedures for some of the questions that she's answered?
After we, the way I understand it, after we pass this, we'll be responsible for promoting and hiring someone to do this. We won't.
Outside contractor then?
Yeah, outside contractor won't be the same contractor, I don't believe, that the nation has, or the administration has. But I'm going to tell you, every citizen of mine that I've approached on this that works for the nation says, yes, you need to be tested just as much as I do, And so, I'm for it. I'm one of the sponsors.
Anything further, Councilor Fraley?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Any further discussion? Madam Speaker? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Keener is next, Madam Speaker. I apologize. I missed him a while ago.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to ask the author what substantively it would be the difference between employee drug testing and special tribal council drug testing. To me, I feel like we should do this pretty much the same as employees.
Well, there were several issues that came up as in the different discussions from different counselors. What about this, what about that? And so I just added some things. One was they wanted separate from the administration because the Constitution does separate, there's a separation of powers between the legislative and the executive branch. So that's one reason on page 2 and C and D and E that each of those bodies separately, and now you have the option of determining whether you would do an independent drug testing vendor or one currently used for the Cherokee Nation drug testing. It's written in there that the policies will be developed by the council. And there are also other concerns, and I can kind of relate to this because as I get older, there are lots of things we have. I'm diabetic. I have to take blood thinners and all those things. As I get older, I have my family has heart disease. So when you have those kinds of things, you can disclose those to the drug tester as well. One of the things about abuse of prescription drug abuse, it would be difficult to determine if there's an abuse, but if you find something that's consistent each time, because usually those kinds of prescriptions are only given to for a limited amount. And if they continue to come up, then that you can establish a policy with your drug tester, your vendor, and to make those policies so after a certain amount of time. But then we have some counselors that have chronic disease like diabetes and heart disease, or they're no longer fighting cancer because we have a clean bill of health from counselor. I want to say Lattimore, but I know that's not right. old age is just killing me sometimes when I get the names confused. But when you have, when you're battling cancer, you're taking a lot of drugs and treatments and those kind of things, that shouldn't be held against that person when they're battling for their life. One of the things that I did through here was those kinds of things would not be FOIA'd initially unless there is some, chemotherapy and things related to that, or blood thinners, metformin or insulin or whatever. Those are kinds of things that you can tell your tester. They don't have to publicly because your personal health is not an issue. When it becomes abusive, then it does become an issue. But you all, as a body, will develop those policies in the best way. And this was written based upon the request of Councilor Horton, and so it's not that I'm projecting a lot of my opinions, except that I did add some special provisions for those of us who do have health issues.
So the same privilege wouldn't be afforded employees?
Yes.
I'm sure they are. And I know all of us are not immune to any of the other sicknesses or anything that employees. It's just merely to protect the council as a body.
I don't believe that to protect the council as a body, and I'm sure that there are several policies where other individuals, lots of employees have chronic health. Native Americans have the highest rate of heart disease and diabetes, and so those are standard probably things. But because it is a political body, some things should be kept more confidential so that it's not put out to the public. And I could see someone saying, well, they're diabetic, now they're insulin dependent, can they really do, you don't want those kinds of things to come out and make
Independent drug testing,
so that's, I probably said more than I should about personal opinions, but that's what
I'm all for drug testing, but, and I guess we'll develop the procedures as we go, but I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Madam Speaker.
Is proper documentation, can you just bring your sack of pills, your bottles?
Well, usually-
How does that work? By the time I find my doctor, it may be 2 months from the time I'm tested. But I've got my little bottles that tell me what to take every day.
Would you yield to the council
Yeah.
for a response, Councilor?
Usually, wherever you get your prescriptions, whether from Cherokee Nation or from the pharmacy, you'll have a listing of the prescriptions that you take. You can take that listing of prescriptions with you. Just hand it to them. You don't have to take your drug pills, because that listing will tell what you're taking, how often you're taking, and how much you're taking.
So
And I've got a listing of probably 7 or 8.
that's
So,
about where I am.
yeah, and
So
you know, if you have high blood pressure, heart disease, or diabetes, or that drug testing may show up, it may not show up on this drug test. The other thing is the chief, deputy chief, and the chief appointees, and the executive branch of government, cabinet members, they're going to be taking it too.
Well, what I'm trying to make sure I understand, because I think I heard a question up here about travel. We're not out here 5 days a week like a regular employee. Are we going to get just a call, and if I'm in court, I'm supposed to tell the judge I got to go be drug tested for my?
That's up to you. I don't. Look like it'd be after the court proceedings is over.
Oh, I can't see them letting me just go, so I'm kind of just wondering how logistically this is going to work. The third thing, the problem I have, these are just logistical problems, because I'm not against drug testing. Used to do it all the time when I worked as employees, as an employee at different things. But this is a very small pot that we're drawing from here, 17 of us. What are you thinking about? We're going to draw one every month, or 2 every month, or what are y'all anticipating here? It's not like you got 8,000 employees and you draw one a month and they go get tested. There's a very small pool of people here. I mean, I'll just go right now if you want me to. I'm ready.
Suggestions are
But-
available.
But you got a problem with availability. You got a problem with how we're gonna pay for it because we've already passed our budget and we don't have anything in there to pay for it. And folks, if you're thinking I'm gonna draw your name and call you up, that's a little past even I never anticipated that being part of the situation here. So, I don't have anything against drug testing, I really don't. But logistically, I'm wondering how, if I call one day and say, Dick Lay, you got an hour to get down here to Telepost Hospital because we're going to drug test you, how's that work?
107 miles an hour.
There should be a company right there around here with Bartlesville that tests.
But we may not have a contract with them.
Well, they'll test. It's just like the employees test. What do they do? You know, we've got lawyers that are employees, and I'm sure that those lawyers have private
Anything further, Madam
cases.
Speaker?
So those are some of my concerns. Maybe that's more policy, but I don't want to, with such a small pot, I could see where some unlucky soul on here gets pulled 12 times a year.
Yeah, would you yield to me, Speaker?
Yes.
Yeah, I that was one of my concerns. You know, the only way that would work to be fair even for us. Now we're trying to be fair to the employees that yes, we should be tested as well if they are. But if we're going to be drawn out of a pool of 17, probably be drawn out of the pool with the rest of the employees, so you're not drawn every other week. The cost, yeah, that was a factor as well.
I don't know how much, I'm just speaking.
We did this one time at a high school, and it was for like 700 people. We're talking about a bigger amount, and it did get up there at 70 to 100,000. So.
Anything further, Madam Speaker?
Those are just some of my concerns. We might need more money.
Policies.
And policies, certainly. And some leeway if you are on travel, or if you're 200 miles away, or if you're doing something that you just can't drop and walk away from it. If you're making closing arguments in a big case with lots of money on the line, you just can't walk away from it. So I'm just something for all of y'all to consider.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Councilor Coates.
I'd like to see the policies,
Okay.
if we could, before we.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to table this because there were some good questions that came out, if you wouldn't mind.
We have a motion to table. I hadn't recognized Councilor Coates. You'll bow to the motion to table. All right, we have a motion to table. We have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Table for a moment. All right. We are now at item number 3. And Councilor Darvin, a new copy has been passed out. Is that correct?
Yes, each one of them has a new copy. We're still not ready to present this, so I'll make a motion to table.
Second. Motion to table, second. Sir, second by Councilor Thornton. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Very good. We now move on to new business. Our first item of new business is item number 1. Councilors, I addressed it earlier, but I had a document distributed that are potential amendments to the election code that were drafted by Election Commissioner Earls with the assistance of Harvey Chafin, who is their attorney. Mainly, I just wanted councilors to see this. I anticipate that next month I'll sponsor legislation that embraces some or all of these. It's something I still need to look at, but I didn't want to just bring something at the next meeting. So this is for you to look at, maybe give some thought to any changes that you'd like to see, or comments or criticism about the proposed changes. I've looked them over, and many of them look good. Some of them I have questions on, and we can kick that around further next month. I don't really want to burden us too much here, but I'm happy to open it up for discussion. Any further discussion? Councilor Keener.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one question about this act. Is it not the same thing as the rules and regs, right?
That is correct, Councilor. This is the underlying statute that's on the books with just some proposed changes.
I was wondering, along with this, could we have the newly approved revisions of the rules and regs?
Oh, there rules. I think that's a good idea, and I'll request that so that next month we have those.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Conwatts.
And so, I know, I kind of tried to read through what was submitted just for discussion on the election commission law, or election laws. And it talks about posting things on the website, which I'm very encouraged about seeing. But when people ask questions, the meetings aren't posted online. Rules and procedures for the election commission aren't posted online. Those internal policies, which are definitely affect public or of public interest. There's no history of any changes to those and how they come about. There's the meeting minutes are not on there. If we could pass that on, that those things should be online and easily accessible without going through.
Okay. All right. We'll definitely let them know that sentiment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. And I didn't intend in this meeting necessarily go through point by point the changes. I wanted to make you aware of them, but happy to entertain discussion on it. Councilor.
So just for clarification, I apologize I walk out, but we will be going in depth on this next month, so we should be expected and prepared to address all these requests.
Yeah, next month I anticipate sponsoring legislation which will embrace some or all of these.
Could we get the pages numbered then as well?
Yes.
And that emailed out to us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. Well, I'd just entertain a motion to table this for a month.
So moved. Table.
Councilor Conwatts, Councilor Thornton, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. We are now at Number two, thank you, Councilor. An act relating to subsidies for smoke shop owners and operators, Councilor Thornton.
When we did the first subsidy act, it wasn't for the owners and operators. I didn't realize this until Ms. Fraley called me and she said she had a owner operator in her area that was really going to have to close in November, and they want to know if they were part of this subsidy. And I think there's either 3 or 4 of these across the nation. And I'm going to make a motion that provide $1,000 monthly subsidy for the smoke shop owners and operators.
Second motion.
Second by Councilor Garvin. We're now into discussion. Any further discussion, Councilor Thornton?
No.
Anything further? Madam Speaker?
Could I suggest a friendly? Wouldn't it be a little better if we say owners who are also operators?
That'd be fine with me.
Because it reads like we're going to give every owner and operator $1,000 apiece, which would be $24,000 a shop. And I don't know how many shops we've got. When I first read that, that's what I thought. And now I understand what you're trying to do. You mean someone that is a owner of the land,
Owner of the land.
but they also operate the shop on the land. And we have 4 of those.
I think there's 4.
Okay.
And you've accepted that, friendly
Yes.
Councilor? And Councilor Garvin has accepted it, so it is changed. So that'd be found in Section 2, it looks like.
So it would actually
Throughout.
only be $4,000 is what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Okay. But how does that compare to
Well,
what we're doing for the,
what I understand that those owner-operator shops have been looked into, and that was the suggested amount that they received, that it's really close to the 75% for those shops.
and what is our, if I could just address this to the Arthur, or the sponsor, what is our reasoning for doing this? Because they already own the land, so they're not paying any rent.
Well, they've got the same problem as the rest of our smoke shops. And
But
There.
we did it last time.
we was doing it for the landowners last time. So we didn't include these shops, and they are the landowners. Now, if you would rather the tax commission go in and prorate these shops, that'd be fine with me. But this primarily has come pretty straight of what the amount would be, so, for the size of the shop. So, you know, it don't make me any difference, but I think this is fair
So,
for the shop.
okay, so last time, what we did was the operators were getting the benefit of what we did.
Well, the operators were getting the benefit at a 75% subsidy for the landowner.
Well, the landowner's not getting any more than he would
No,
want to get.
no.
The operators were getting a
Right.
75% assistance for this
Right.
year
Right,
while we negotiate the compact again.
right.
And I'm having a hard time wrapping I'm trying to figure out how these people are hurt. They already own the land. How are they hurt?
But they're operating
They're not
the
paying,
smoke shop. and
but they're not paying any
They're
rent.
trying to make a living off a smoke shop. That's how they're getting hurt.
Okay, but before,
Well, the
we were helping the
landowner,
operator.
the landowner's not paying any land payment either, as far as for the leasee.
I still don't think I've got my question answered, but I think you're trying to. I saw what we did last time. We had operators that were under tremendous pressure to make payments to landowners that they were not capable of making, given what the return was. So we were giving them some relief while we renegotiate the compact.
For the owner
But
operator,
here, this operator is not paying any rent.
the owner operator isn't subsidized through the BIA like the other ones are. They set their amount that they pay to the owner. But under this case, where you're an owner operator, the BIA isn't in that. They're not telling that operator that they have to pay so much to the landowner. Now they're the landowner and they're trying to operate a business, but they're failing and going down just like the other operators.
Anything further, Madam Speaker? Very good. Councilor Walking Stick, you had a question.
I have a friend that works in the BIA, and whenever we passed this bill, or this act months ago, his concern was that the operators were making millions of dollars, and he's got data to prove this, and we all made a decision based off not having data, and now we're about to increase $1,000 monthly subsidy to the shop owners and operators, which if it's benefiting the operator that owns the shop, it's giving them $1,000 extra dollars. So I can't support this, and I'll try to get the data into everyone's hands on those numbers for the smoke shops, and because I don't know, I was it's my fault that didn't research the act, but that's all. Thank you.
Councilor Walking Stick. I've got Councilman Keener next, and then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And on this act, we're talking about 4 people. Is that what I heard?
4 landowners.
And in the interest of fairness, wouldn't we want to prorate that in case it was more than 1,000? I don't know, it may not be, but we're going to either shortchange them or.
Well, from what I understand, they're satisfied with this. But if you want to have it prorated, the BIA can't prorate these. So our people would have to prorate it, our tax.
Our tax commission can.
Mr. Chairman, have you here from?
I guess I would offer that as a friendly.
Here from the tax. No, we don't.
In place of the 1,000 prorate.
I'm sorry, is that a friendly amendment?
Yes.
I also want to see this millions that the man's talking about. Every shop owner that I know don't make millions.
Councilman, the counselor has made a friendly amendment. I do want to get some clarification on how that language would change, Councilor Keener. Then
Yeah, I'd like to ask the author of this act, and then Council Lady Fraser made a good point on a cap, maybe even on that too. So I don't know if you were.
Ms. Barker Harold, do you have a suggestion on the fly for language to address a prorate?
I actually do not, and I would probably defer to Sarah Hill because she also has a comment about the
Sarah?
legislation as well.
My comment, my biggest concern was addressed, I think, by Councilman. I was concerned when I first read it, it seemed like it was paying an additional.
You're going to have to talk up.
I'm sorry. I was concerned that it looked like it was paying an additional $1,000 to all of the owners and operators already, so that was my biggest concern with it. And my suggested change is going to be to add something that said if you get one of these, you're not eligible for the other one. But I think your suggestion works fine to fix that. On the prorated, as far as that language, I guess I'm having a hard time understanding. When you have an owner-operator, what you're prorating, who they're paying and what, because that part is confusing to me, I think.
And so, Councilor Keener, it sounds like we may not be able to nail down some language for your friendly amendment. I can't on the fly think of some good language for that.
I can't either. Somebody else could.
Have it in there. Would you withdraw that for time being, or?
I can withdraw for time.
Okay, all right. And you still have the floor, Councilor.
Well, if you want to, I guess, Councilor Thornton, you've been in discussions on it, and the $1,000 agreeable to all four parties?
I don't want all four. I know it's agreeable to one of them.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Fraley?
Yeah, I was just gonna say $1,000 for the small little shop east of Locust Grove. It'll make a difference whether she closes next month or not.
Would you yield for a question from me? Can I ask you a question?
Oh, sure.
They employ Cherokees at that shop, is that correct? They employ Cherokees at that shop, correct? Right. Thank you.
The tax commission has visited that shop.
Okay. All right, Councilwoman Fishing Hawk.
I guess I'm confused. If I own the land, who am I paying tax to if I own, who am I paying rent to if I'm owning the land?
You're not.
Well, you get
Councilor Fraley can answer the question.
This is a family-owned small shop, and they don't lease anything out or anything. It's located on restricted lands way out east of Locust Grove. Very little traffic, but that's their only meeting, that's their only livelihood. And she said that would help them tremendously. Because she came to me and said, why are these other people getting help? We own our land, we're full-blood Cherokees, we're going to have to close in November. You're helping the others.
That one, we helped them pay their lease, pay their rent, right?
75% subsidy.
But these people aren't paying rent, right? Is that how you're understanding it? Thank you.
I'm sorry, we were.
Okay.
No,
Got it. Okay.
I think one thing, Councilor Fishenbach, is we were trying to figure out what we could do about the proration, and we didn't come up with anything really quickly.
I'm confused. What are we prorating?
I think that's what we were trying to do.
And that's been withdrawn. That's for the time being. It's been withdrawn.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what we were prorating, but I think the idea was to somehow link the subsidy to the rate of the others. But I don't think it's been.
It's going to be zero because the percentage times zero is zero.
I think that math is correct. Councilor Lay and then Councilor Garvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I may go back and forth between Mr. Walker's stick Councilor Fraley, if I might, because I've heard these stories too about a mega operator making a lot of money. I don't know that many smoke shop operators, but the ones I do know are just kind of like us, are making a living. So if there are mega operators that are far away from Meredith's neighbors, and this is 4 people, $4,000, I guess I'm going to support it. The next time we try to do this, I'd like to have some of this data that Councilor Walker Stick is talking about. We've got mega operators who are making tons of money, so we could come under it. I think next time.
Okay.
That's just a thought.
Anything further, Councilman Blake?
That's okay.
And then we had Councilor Garvin next. Yes, yes.
I think it should be an either-or situation. We take what we placed last month or this, and not both. But the owner-operator can choose and go either way.
Councilor, I wonder if I could address that. As I understand it, Councilor Thornton, they don't get both.
No.
They're not paying anyone rent. So under the old legislation, they wouldn't get a subsidy.
They wouldn't.
They get nothing under the old legislation. So this is for shops that, because they both own the land and operate the shop, are asking for some relief.
Yeah.
And you've come up with a reasonable amount of $1,000. And Mr. Garvin still has the floor, but does that address your issue at all? And go ahead, Councilor.
Mr. Chair, you have to realize that these little shops also, they're paying the state of Oklahoma tax, and they're paying the Cherokee Nation tax. And right now, they're getting where they can't operate that because there's so many more of these other stores that sell the same thing, almost same price, and they don't have people coming out to them like they have in several years back. If you want to check how many million everybody's making, our tax commission over there should know, because they have to pay so much percentage into the Cherokee Nation out of what they make. They have to pay so much percentage into the state out of what they make. So you should be able to pull it out of the tax commission.
And before I recognize Madam Speaker, who was next, in fact, at the meeting, we had data showing how many tax revenues came in, and I didn't do the math, but it seems unlikely that we've got shops having millions of dollars, but maybe we do.
Right.
And if the councilman brings that data,
because
we'll take a look at it.
the BIA don't control that. The BIA sets a certain amount that they have to pay on the basis of what they're making, and that's what they pay these landowners. So the smoke shop operation it's not simple. But if you want to really get into it, you need to really get into it and see what's going on and see how bad the Cherokee Nation's getting robbed from the state of Oklahoma, and how much percentage we're paying the state, and it's not coming back to us, and we need a bigger percent of that money that's being paid to the state. But that should go out in the new, what's coming up, the compact, yeah. A new compact. We're going to have to fight for that because the Creeks have put us in a difficult problem. The Creeks went and settled for something that was much higher, and they settled because they owned the state of Oklahoma over $11 million they had to pay them. So they was glad to settle, and they're not making any more money off of the cigarettes, and they're not any higher. Matter of fact, they had to raise their prices. They're the same as the convenience stores. So when we do that compact, right now the state of Oklahoma is trying to jump on these little nations, and they're trying to make them go along with the Creeks. And they put out several meetings around McAllister and Muskogee, but they won't come to the Cherokee Nation right now because they know that they're not going to be able to overrun the compact for the Cherokee Nation. And we need to get in on that. We need to do it now. We need to form some kind of committee out of the AG's office and get that done, just like we was talking about in the committee, in the council meeting last time. And And we've got pretty good lawyers, and we've got some other lawyers that will give their time that aren't connected with the Cherokee Nation. So that's where I'm at with it. But if you're really interested in seeing who's what and who's what, go get you a copy of that compact and start reading it and just see how you see it, because it's hard to understand. And I don't understand it, but I know a lot about it.
Thank you, Counselor. Madam Speaker.
We have a couple of other items on the agenda. I wonder, could we pass this to the end of the agenda and maybe get Sharon Swepson over here to answer a few questions? Oh, she's not here today? Is there anybody over there that can answer some questions for us?
I don't know the answer to that question, Madam Speaker.
I think Sharon's from CAI.
Yeah.
Okay. I would ask then that we table this for a month. I really have some legitimate concerns about the direction that we're going with this. I could see what we were doing last time. This really, I have some legitimate concerns here. I would...
Before you make your motion, Madam Speaker, Curtis has been waiting.
Okay.
Councilman Snell,
I would
and then
hold
if
that.
we could just, did you have a comment?
I just had a question. How many times do we pay this $1,000? Is that a one-time deal, or is that?
It's exactly the length of time that was on the subsidy, the last one that was passed.
And Councilor, if I could, this would go to the end of this fiscal year.
Till the end of the fiscal year.
Monthly until the end of the fiscal year?
Till the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, you have the floor.
Yes, I would do a motion to table until next month.
Motion's been made, second by Councilor Count Watts. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Just tape, roll call.
Bill England,
No.
Jack Baker,
We lost Councilman Baker.
Joe Bird,
Yes.
Julia Coates, Jody Fishinghawk,
Yes.
Meredith Fraley,
No.
Janelle Fulbright,
No.
Don Garvin,
No.
Frankie Hargis,
Yes.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
No.
Hannah Gloria Jordan,
Yes.
Lee Keener,
No.
Dick Lay,
No.
Curtis Snell,
No.
David Thornton,
No.
David Walkingston, Karen Callan Watts,
No.
five yes and 10 no.
Okay. Motion to table fails. We are still in discussion. Councilman Lay?
So, if I may ask a question, nobody's overtaxed that we can bring over to answer these questions?
I don't know the answer to that question. One option we could have is to table to the end of this meeting, as Madam Speaker suggested earlier, and in the meantime, try to find someone that could answer these questions. And if you make that motion, we'll, I think, take a successful voice vote on it.
If I may, I'd like to make
And move this to the end of our agenda. Has been second. All those in favor to move the end of the agenda say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, this is moved to the last item. Thank you, Council. Councilor Cameron.
Jack Baker, Councilman Baker is back on.
Councilman Baker is
Not
back.
sure about the timing, but
Okay, very good. He's back. We'll say he's back now. Good to have him back. All right.
is he able to hear? Is he on the phone?
Councilman Baker, can you hear us? Yes, he
Thank
can.
you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Should we have someone call? the
Yes.
tax
Can someone ask Gail to call somebody at the tax commission that can answer tobacco tax related questions? We are now still with you, Councilor Thornton. Item number 3, liquor sales and smoke shops. So this is discussion and possible.
I want to table this till next month.
Okay, we have a motion to table. Second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Very good. Next is item number 4, Councilman Lane.
I'd like to table that, make a motion to table.
Table for a month. Second. Who's second? Councilor Vargas. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Very good. We're now at your item, Madam Speaker. We did earlier suspend the Attorney General's report pending the arrival of the Attorney General himself. He's here. We could revisit the Attorney General's report, or we could move on to number 4. Number 5, rather. Okay.
5.
All right. So the personnel matter is yours, Madam Speaker.
Yes, I would like to go into executive session to discuss tribal council personnel matters.
Motion and second, move into executive session. Oh, okay. Let me ask. We do want Councilor, our council member to stay in the room.
Yes. Wait until he stops and gets
Executive session.
Second by Councilor Garvin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We have returned from executive session during which no votes were taken. We did have discussion on a personnel matter. And Madam Speaker, with your permission, I'd like to introduce Jody Reese, who is the new director of financial operations here at the council. I probably butchered that title, but we'll just call you Jody anyway once it starts. But Mr. Reese, welcome aboard. And just by way of background, Mr. Evans, great blow to this institution that Mr. Evans is leaving us, but a great opportunity for him. And we have a great impact on this body, but we now have someone in Mr. Reese who I think we found through this process, which I'll describe in a moment, is not just a very competent individual for the very basics of this position, but is somebody that truly understands Cherokee Nation finances. And so, Mr. Reese, we're just very pleased that you are going to be with us on this to replace Doug. Very pleased. With respect to the background, when it became apparent that Mr. Evans had an opportunity to move to another position, Madam Speaker looked at the process that's in place in Cherokee Nation for personnel matters, and that those rules dictated that the position be posted for internal candidates first. And we were fortunate that we found an internal candidate who is a Cherokee citizen. Mr. Reese, you're a Cherokee citizen.
Yes, sir.
And you were already employed over in the Treasurer's office, and you applied. There was an interview process with council leadership, Madam Speaker and myself, and then we had discussion in executive session about that personnel matter, and suffice it to say, all participants were impressed and probably echo their feelings on your hire. So that's a summary of the process that's brought us to this point. Madam Speaker, have I left anything out?
No, I'm glad and hopeful and want to welcome you aboard, and probably this is the highest point today.
Well,
and you get down to working for 17 bosses.
I appreciate it.
You'll be sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Reese.
Thank you.
All right. That is new business item number 5. We now move to the amended agenda, and I hope that Shelley can refresh my memory as to the order of the additional pieces of legislation. I would suggest we move, if we didn't have them numbered, to the USDA resolution. Okay, so the next item, which will be new business item number 6, is, Madam Speaker, you're first on the sponsor list. This is the USDA resolution. Do you have that in front of you?
Yes, I do, and I would go ahead and put it in the form of a motion that we approve this resolution. As I understand it, there's some jobs that possibly can be captured by Cherokee Nation to conduct a census, and so it's somewhat critical that we get this resolution in place, and then we'll go about the business of finding maybe some extra jobs for Cherokees here in our area to do a census of our farmers in this area.
Second. Second by Councilor Hargis. Any further discussion? Councilor Thornton?
I'd like to be added as sponsor.
We'll add Councilor Thornton as a sponsor. Sponsorships.
I would like to add to the sponsor, but also a question.
Okay, before we get to your question, does everyone want to be a sponsor to this? I think the whole council will be added as sponsors, and Councilor Watts.
If there are any contractors, whether it's individual employees, so to speak, like workers or companies, would they be Cherokee Nation citizens that are involved in this?
I assume that the normal preferences apply, Councilor, but I figured you have different information.
I'm not real, are you thinking a company might apply for the job? Is that?
When the USDA comes up, actually, I'll just say it without stating names, there's a particular individual in the community that is not a tribal citizen and has restraining orders against them and lawsuits against them concerning the USDA, and I would hope that they're not involved in this. And that's what I'm asking.
I'll tell you what I'll answer it with what I know about this. Charles Head called me from NCAI and said that this is going to happen in our community, and it was his belief by passing this resolution that we might be able to capture these jobs for our Cherokee citizens. And that is the extent of, I knew the census was going to take place because as a farmer and rancher ourselves, or my husband, we've been getting little things in the mail that indicated to us that we were going to see some surveys and maybe even someone visit with us. And my understanding is there will be jobs associated with this, and that we want them to be Cherokees if at all possible.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilman Berger.
Yeah, those type of contracts were not mentioned, Councilman Watts. Myself, the Deputy Chief, and Charles Head met with the head of USDA Tuesday morning at NCAI, and they wanted us to start establishing a database for how many farmers or ranchers we may even have at Cherokee Nation. And then even with that, working with the 5 tribes, intertribal, and trying to get some data where they could also do the same. So this is going to be very good legislation here, and hopefully create some good jobs there, Speaker.
Councilor, any further discussion? Okay, we'll now proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the resolution say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Resolution passes. We now move to the resolution ratifying litigation in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Oklahoma. Councilor Fraley, would you introduce this? I think you're one of the sponsors. You want to get us into discussion with the motion? Second by Councilor Thornton. Mr. Hembree, tell us about this.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor. I've been in front of judges today.
That's fine.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. In accordance with the Consent to Litigation Act, litigation brought on behalf of the Cherokee Nation must be approved by the Cherokee Nation Public Council. This is the litigation that is contested the 2.03 acres of land that the Assistant Secretary has placed into trust for the United Kituah Band. It is litigation that is paramount to our sovereignty, and our law requires that this litigation have the consent of the council. So I would ask that the consent be given.
Any discussion? Councilor Watts?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for bringing this forward and bringing this lawsuit litigation forward. On both, so we have 2 suits just to, at this point. concerning EKG?
That is correct.
78?
76 acres
76.
and the 2 acres.
And then 2.03. So this also is separate from any action we're taking procedurally within the DOI or PA, right? In terms of the internal appeals process?
This is just for the Northern District case. That went directly, directly to federal court. We are still within the appeal process, the internal appeal process on the 76-acre tract.
But there is no lawsuit concerning that at this point.
It is, well, it's a procedural, well, it's an administrative proceeding.
And this is different because of the point where it was taken in the
Correct.
process. And I assume maybe this is a governmental issue separate from the litigation case. Are you talking to the new appointees?
He is not taking any meetings at this point until he until he takes the oath of office. He has not been officially sworn in yet.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you very much, A.G. Henry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the resolution? Okay. Then we'll move to the vote. All those in favor of the resolution say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Resolution passes. Shelley, can you- Okay, and next is the contract support legislation, but Councilor Lay and I spoke earlier, and I was mistaken. It's on the E&F agenda. Is that correct, Councilor?
I believe that's correct.
So would you just withdraw it and we'll get to it? Okay, so that's been withdrawn. It's still on the agenda for E&F.
There you go.
Go back to smoke shops. All right, so we're now returning to new business item number 2, which had been tabled to the end of the meeting. Actually, I believe we still had questions for Mr. Hembry on the Attorney General's report. Madam Speaker, the Attorney General's report was suspended earlier. We have one business item left, Mr. Thornton's smoke shop legislation, but do we want to ask the Attorney General any further questions that we had that came up during his report before we do that? Did you have any questions, Madam Speaker?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. Very good.
Did you want to ask him?
I have a question.
I'm sorry, Councilman Walking Stick had a question for you.
I just got a text message from the guy with the BIA, but he said that you need to request a FOIA to the BIA to request the rental sales of smoke shops.
Okay.
Does that go through your department? Or?
Yeah, contact me and we'll help with the any governmental FOIA actions.
Okay.
Okay.
When do we want him to give a report or supporting? Well, that was going to be part of the AG's report, so that's now. Do you want to ask any questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, before you were here, we suspended the AG's report because there were some questions about Sequoia. There may be a limit to which you can address those questions, but Councilman Byrd, I think, had some of the questions on it.
Yes, sir.
We just wanted for you to give us some information that you're able to on the status of Sequoia and clarify some questions that some of us are getting from the parents and the students. And is there going to be any resolution to this? And just give us a little narrative on some of the issues.
And forgive me for not being here at the start of the meeting, but it is precisely this issue of why I was getting late. The status is as right now, is that a temporary restraining order has been signed by a judge in the judicial district that restrains the OSSA from suspending these players. Okay, that's a good thing.
Yes.
But that's not the end of the story. There is going to be anytime there's an ex parte means without notice. Anytime there's an ex parte restraining order that is signed, you have to have a hearing within 5 days. We all know the importance of this. Judge Kirkley has set that hearing for 10 o'clock in the morning at Cherokee County Courthouse here in Tahlequah. I would urge anyone who is able to attend that hearing. We're in the process of notifying all the parents. There are, I will be there to present the nation's interest. Many of the players have contracted private attorneys, but the restraining order affects all of the suspended players and any other players that are similarly situated. That means if this list expands or contracts, it would cover them. I will tell you, we've been very open about the position of the tribe. The position of the tribe is, if rules were violated, it should be the responsibility of those who knew or should have known the rule to suffer those consequences. The players, the student athletes who have worked this whole season to get where they're at should be the very last people penalized. They did nothing wrong in this. Neither did their parents. So it is my intention to do everything we can to ensure that those student athletes get an opportunity to prove themselves on the field and in the classroom. And with that, I'll yield to any questions.
Councilor, you still?
Some of this, that from what I read in the papers, was the expenditures on training camps. What year are we talking about that these infractions occurred?
Well, as to the details, as to, because this is going to be subject of a hearing tomorrow, I'm going to refrain from getting into any details as to the merits of the case.
Okay. But I commend you for filing that if you're the one that did that, because
we help coordinate it.
Yes, because the students should be the last. They're the innocent bystanders, and a lot of them were seniors that were going into this year, hopeful maybe for scholarship.
Well, for instance, whether there are some that have scholarship opportunities, but most, I think, all but one are seniors. Friday night is senior night. We have individuals who have spent 4 years, giving it their all, and like I said, both on the field and in the classroom. They should have that opportunity to walk out on that field with their mother and father, and have that honor to do so. So that's one of the main reasons. And like I said, this is not a case of changing grades or residency. The student athlete has zero culpability in this. So we feel compelled to do all we can.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Washington.
My question is how you restrain the athletic association when we're playing in their league, like in their association.
Again, I am not going to get into the legal theories of the case.
Thank you.
Councilor Carter.
As I read this, it's a possibility that these students will get to play tomorrow night.
That'll be up to the judge. But as of right now, there's an order allowing them to play.
So there's no changes, they'll be playing.
That's right.
They know that?
We have, I've had the School High administration calling all the parents as soon as I got the order signed, or the order was signed.
Councilor Cowans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A.G. Hembry, I seem to remember that there were several incidents over the past 4 or 5 years where the Athletic Association was challenging us, especially as Sequoia gained notoriety in athletics. So after this case settles, so that we don't have to worry about the litigation issues and strategy that you're facing, could we get a better understanding of the history of this and why it's coming about? What are the issues that face?
Sure.
Because I guess we're considered a private school and a boarding school for some students, but not all students. It's pretty complicated from what I recall under the prior administration when it was brought to court. And we have been successful sometimes and haven't been successful. But it seems to be an ongoing issue that's affecting our students. I'd like to better understand it.
And that's well put. We're kind of, in some instances, a square peg in a round hole. After the resolution of this, would be happy to give the council and anyone else who would care to hear interpretation of our status.
So, I mean, are these issues that like Riverside and some of the other schools, are they facing these issues the same as our BIE school? Or is it just that we're tribally ran and some self-governing?
That I don't know. But we are going to.
And maybe is there an opportunity to get an agreement at the athletic association so that we don't continue? I mean, there's got to be a better way to address this.
Yes, it is. And you know, one thing is certain is that we are cooperating fully with the OSSA. You know, and we will play by the rules. We just want to be clear what those rules are.
I don't know if we have competitive debates still, but I know we were doing that at one point. Is that affecting our debate students and other students as well, not just athletics, but competitive academics,
I don't know.
extracurricular?
I don't know if that.
I want to understand that.
Exactly. I don't know. That's a good question. Whether academic teams in
So
Lincoln Douglas.
it would be similar issues of eligibility and rules.
Take a point for us to look at. Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hembry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Walker State.
Answer the question. Yes, ma'am. As long as they're part of the athletic association, there's cheerleading, band, if they're part of associations, we play by their rules regardless if you're reporting, charter, independent, whatever. As long as you're part of that athletic association, then you play by their rules. So, that's all.
Any further questions?
Thank you. Anything further, Mr. Hembry?
Thank
you.
10 o'clock tomorrow.
All right. We now move on to our final item of business, which is return to Councilor Thornton's smoke shop legislation, which is tabled to the end of the meeting. It's my understanding that there is no one at the Tax Commission presently who can respond to the questions that were raised concerning smoke shop taxes, lease rates, etc. Councilor, legislation's still up for discussion and passage. And what's your pleasure, Councilor?
Well, the thing about this is, I call for the question. So, but anyway, if it turns out, if we get another report on it, we can always go back and change the legislation.
We've got a
and
motion.
I truly think, I've made recommendations on personnel before and it really hadn't panned out. But I think this is going to pan out. So
just I guess just to make it right, we're going to have you make a motion to approve it, and we'll need a
I've already
second.
done it.
But we tabled it. I assume that it starts the clock over.
Okay, I'll make most to approve.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Garvin. We'll move back in discussion. Councilor Watkins, too.
I would really like to wait and see, once we get a FOIA to the BIA and get those numbers, and as well as to get with the tax commission and get the numbers from the smoke shop before we move forward with this $1,000 subsidy. That's all I have to say.
Shelley reminded me that Sharon Swepston is available by phone. We could dial her up. She probably has limited access to information. But if anyone wants us to call her up. And I had Councilor Hardis next, and then Councilor Fulbright.
Can anyone tell me where these 4 smoke shops are located? What counties they're in, or what towns they're in?
One in Locust, right?
What was the question?
The councilor is asking if we know where the smoke shops are located. We know one is in Mays County near Locust Grove.
That's the only one
That's
I
the
know.
only one she knows of, Councilor. You still have
We
four.
are.
Okay, and you still have 4, Councilor.
I just wanted that.
Sure, Councilor Fulbright.
Thank you. Since it seems pertinent to Councilor Friley, or her constituent that she knows up there, they're about to go out of business, and they really need this desperately for them to stay in business. We're actually just talking about 10 months here, which is, it would be $40,000 the way I looked at it. And that would be a small amount of money compared to the whole subsidy that we did previously. And I'm going to be for it to go ahead and pass it today, if we can possibly keep somebody from going out of business. And then I agree with Councilor Walker said, we need to find out some more data for later use, but I'm going to be supporting Councilor Gordon's steps, so thank you.
Call for the questions.
Can I ask,
Madam Speaker, certainly.
did we address where those funds are going to come from?
Come from general fund.
Where the funds are coming from?
Yeah,
You still take a question?
Sure.
The only question I ask is the name of the VI person who was spoke to. Mr. Walkenstick, can you give me that?
I'll tell you after. I don't want to say his name. I'll tell you after.
Oh, okay. That's all I've got.
All right, so we'll now move to a vote on the motion to approve. Roll call.
Frankie Hargis,
No.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Gloria Jordan,
No.
Lee Keener,
Yes.
Dick Lay,
Yes.
Curtis Snell,
Yes.
David Thornton,
Yes.
David Walkingstick,
No.
Kara Cowan Watts,
Yes.
Bill England,
Yes.
Jack Baker. Is that a no?
No.
Joe Bird,
Yes.
Julia Coates, Jody Fishinghawk, Meredith Fraley,
Yes.
Janelle Fulbright,
Yes.
Sean Garvin.
Yes.
We have 11 yes and 4 no.
Exhaust the agenda. Any announcements? Madam Speaker.
Would it be possible for us to go immediately into the next agenda item? For this reason, we do have a 4 o'clock reception, and we've invited all the rest of the tribe to the going away from Mr. Evans.
You be moving right now. Yeah.
If we can find an ENF chair.
I can be your backup, but
Okay.
I need a minute of
Okay.
consultation time.
Oh, okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.